At the current moment, I'm going through some of the most ridiculous times in my life, and that is one of the biggest reasons why my consistency has fallen off. But you know, anime is life as they say, so I will continue to recommend them to the very end, and this time I'm gonna focus on Shonen, but I'm not gonna focus on the Shonen that always gets recommended. So there will be no One Piece, no Naruto, no Death Note, no Attack on Titan, Full Metal Alchemist, Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, Dragon Ball or Bleach. Basically, not any of the first choice Shonen anime that constantly gets recommended, and since there are so many shows that go slightly under the radar or just doesn't get the same levels of respect that the other shows in their generation get, I will try to make a series out of this. And now, View with Ice presents some of the best shonen anime you have to watch before you die, underrated edition.
おはようございます。発砲したままで結構ですので出血を取ります。磯貝君。はい。すみませんが銃声の中。
Next up, we have one of the most beloved shows you will ever come across. I have yet to hear anyone say something bad about this one, and that is of course Assassination Classroom. This one has kind of a ridiculous plot if you just read it from a page, but it is a super rewarding and satisfying watch at the end of the day. Here we look at Kuro Sensei, a tentacle-like creature who is a teacher, and while he teaches regular subjects, his true teachings come in the form of lessons involving assassination. And the person who is the target of these lessons is none other than Kuro Sensei himself. The Japanese government has put a substantial amount of money on the head of Kuro Sensei, and the reward will go to whoever is able to kill him in the class of E3. I say again, if you look at the plot like this, it might seem kind of stupid, but I assure you, you won't be disappointed. From the comedy to the action, the characters and the emotion that this anime will draw out of you, I would happily give it 2 monstrous thumbs up. GTO is something that I've had my eyeballs on for a very long time, and I finally gotten my hands on it, and now with me 30 episodes into this anime, I already feel like I want to share this with the world. And yes, I know the damn anime is like 25 years old, but every anime is a new anime to someone who hasn't watched it yet. Great Teacher Onizuka is about an ex-biker gang leader turned high school teacher, and it just follows Onizuka's everyday adventures and struggles as a teacher with his very interesting and unique perspective on teaching. One thing about GTO that I kind of dislike is that it has a lot of pervy elements to it, things I would normally steer clear from, but it actually being a very funny show has kept me watching. And another thing that isn't very important, but GTO has some of the best comedic facial expressions I've ever seen in the anime world. I've always liked over-the-top anime facial expressions to add to the comedy, and this one has that in spades.
Trigger on.
At this point, you are most likely thinking, how can this asshole even recommend me anime that he hasn't even finished it? But I just have a weird way of watching stuff. If I watch something and I run through about 40 episodes and I genuinely like it, I feel I have a right to recommend it to the world. Because I know if I don't die early, I will watch it sometime in the future, and I will definitely catch up to every single episode of this wonderful gem of an anime called World Trigger. World Trigger is an action sci-fi that takes place in a world where Earth constantly gets invaded by powerful creatures known as neighbors. And of course, conventional weaponry is not strong enough to stop these monsters, but there is an organization who creates special weapons to be able to defend themselves against the neighbors, called Triggers. So here we follow Osamu Mikamu, a novice trigger user still in training, and one day after a certain monster related situation with the new transfer student Yuga, Osamu discovers that Yuga is a humanoid neighbor from another world. Normally things like this would be instantly reported to the agency, but Osamu instead starts a friendship with Yuga, and the start of this friendship is also the start of some of the best sci-fi action I have ever experienced in an anime.
なんかよくわかんねえけど、するべきことはよくわかるよ。逃げろー！からまで！
Before I say anything about Gintama, I just want to say that I am kind of ashamed that I haven't finished it yet, and I will begin everything from the beginning and take it to the very end when I get some free time. Gintama is not exactly what you would call an unknown anime, but for the levels of fun this anime has given me, I just want to broadcast it all over the globe. This is a very strange anime, to be honest. Sometimes I don't even know how to follow it. That might be the same reason I haven't gotten through it yet, but please don't let that discourage you. Because even though I haven't finished Gintama yet, I have ran through about 230 episodes, and in those 200 plus episodes I have experienced joy, sadness, excitement, and all the emotions that is necessary to call an anime a Lord level watch. I'm not gonna go into the details of the plot of the show, but Gintama can be a parody anime at times, making fun of shows like One Piece, Naruto, Dragon Ball, and various other anime, and then suddenly it can go into a serious affair with stories that can rival and even surpass your favorite animes. This is a roller coaster type show and something that I consider to be the funniest anime you will ever come across, but I am not gonna go on forever about how wonderful Gintama is. The fact is, although very confusing at times, this is a shonen anime that you will want to watch before you leave this planet. 2019 delivered some of the best anime of the new generation, with the ultimate standout being Demon Slayer, but Dr. Stone is not something to be disrespected. When I think of Dr. Stone, I also like to think of MacGyver, just with more scientific knowledge. At this point, we almost likely know about Dr. Stone, but I chose to include it anyway since it is not as heavily talked about as its peers. Our story here is about rebuilding civilization as we know it, and it starts when a mysterious green light petrifies every single human being on the planet and turns them to stone. Over 3,700 years later, our MC Senku Ishigami awakens from his petrified state, and luckily for the world, Senku is a man of science with a ridiculously high IQ and knowledge of the previous world. And with this vast knowledge, Senku will now try to attempt to save everyone and bring the world back to its previous technological glory. If you are looking for pure action, this isn't exactly the direction I would steer you in, but if you want a show that's intriguing and will leave you constantly interested, it is almost too difficult to think of a better show.